Good morning. My name is Mark Levine, and I am the Deputy Director of your New York State Association of Counties. On behalf of NYSAC President Jack Marin and our Executive Director, I want to thank you for joining us for the webinar on procurement cards, streamlining purchasing and generating revenue for your county. There are a number of procurement card programs out there, and many of our counties are using one. This webinar is being presented by PFM, who administers the NYSAC P-Card program. Currently, we have 12 counties and 4 municipal jurisdictions that use the NYSAC P-Card program, and there are a couple of others that will be adopting it in 2021. Each year, we have a few more towns and counties or other jurisdictions coming into the program. This program is not designed specifically for the NYSAC card program. It is content agnostic, which means the information that we are presenting today can be applied to any county using any cards that are on the market. In terms of the NYSAC P-Card program, in 2020, this year, the counties and municipalities that are part of the program earned more than $250,000 in rebates. In one county, St. Lawrence County, earned over $120,000 in rebates this year. And they're a smaller county. The content in here is also designed to help counties that are not currently using a P-Card program so that they can hear about how a P-Card works and how your county might benefit from it. The webinar is designed to present some of the ways that counties are leveraging their P-Cards for streamlining, purchasing, and generating rebate revenue. This morning, as you probably all figured out already, you're on mute. If you have a question, we ask that you submit it in the chat area of your webinar panel on the right side of your screen. And after the presentation, I will take up all the questions. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce our 2 speakers. One of them is our partner from PFM, and the other is a county purchasing director from Putnam County. Beth Smith is a senior managing consultant for PFM, and she is the administrator for the NYSAC P-Card program. She returned to PFM in January of 2016 after a leave of absence to join the payment solutions team for the Long Island offices of PFM. Her primary responsibility is to support the existing client base in strengthening their P-Card use and maximizing the efficiencies within your program. She also executes training webinars for new and existing customers, counties, assists in the ongoing efforts to enhance customer communication, provides support to our clients' program administrators, and works directly with our bank, BMO, to ensure a high level of customer service and satisfaction. Prior to joining the P-Card team, she worked for PFM's asset management business for 3 years, coordinating the transition of the Long Island, New York banking and customer service operations to PFM's asset management headquarters in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, after PFM acquired the company she worked for in 2004, Cadre Consulting Services. When she worked at Cadre for 20 years, she was responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations of programs totaling over $6 billion in assets. Her responsibilities encompassed banking relations, client services, account information, client reporting, and account reconciliation at the client, program, and banking levels. We are fortunate to have Beth as a partner in providing the NYSAC P-Card program to our counties, towns, and villages in New York. We also have with us today Alex Mazzata, the Putnam County Purchasing Director. Alex is a procurement professional with more than 17 years experience in municipal law and public procurement, contract negotiations, project management, contract law, and budget and spend analysis. Alex has been the purchasing director for Putnam County since 2003. He received his bachelor's degree from Columbia University and is a graduate of the Pace Law School. At this time, I would like to introduce and ask to speak Beth Smith, the Senior Managing Consultant for PFM. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to also echo Mark's sentiments. Thank you for joining us on this wintry day. We look forward to enlightening you and providing you with a lot of information about the cards themselves and ways in which you can grow your program if you don't already have one, things to look and watch for when you implement a program. So getting started, procurement cards, also known, you'll hear a wide range of terminology, P cards, procurement cards. They are different than what a normal credit card is. Procurement cards or P cards, they take advantage of an infrastructure that a lot of normal credit cards don't offer to you by providing safeties, controls that you have, and I'll talk to it on a later slide, but you have a wide range of control so that you as program administrators who oversee the programs can manage and control what you can purchase on these cards. So that's one of the primary differentiation between a credit card or a regular credit card that you would go and utilize for executing business purposes to using a procurement card. They also, besides having this built-in control, using P cards help you optimize your cash flow because you're able to make purchases quickly, but may not have to pay for them until another 2 or 3 weeks when the bill is settled. It streamlines your process. It reduces expenses on the overall procurement process. It's estimated that about $70 to $90 when they did studies about how much it costs to actually issue a check for payment, it reduces those expenses as well as safeguards the county municipality from fraud because checks are actually more fraudulent or expose the county or municipality more so than the credit card process. It also enables you to facilitate better tracking of expenses. You can take advantage of supplier discounts, and you also will receive revenue from rebates that you earn on your spend, and it ultimately helps increase efficiencies. When they did the study, we follow RPMG, which is a outfit that actually follows and holds historical data regarding procurement cards, and they had based about 2021, they're expecting about $478 billion to be transacted through the use of procurement cards. We started offering to our participants about 2004 the use of procurement cards and trying to get that concept ingrained in the entities that we work with. It was a little foreign, so it took us a long time. But NYSAC and this program is a national program, and we have over $323 million in spend. And right now, it's the best time of year because we're sending out, over $2.5 to $3 million in rebates that our participants earned. Next. So just this is highlights of the NYSAC program, but it also is a good indicator of things for folks to look for when you are exploring or implementing a P card program, or things that you should be looking for if you already have one. So this is the highlights for NYSAC's program. We do offer cash rebates. So once the annual spend, and in this case, we have a program year. which runs from September 1st to the 31st. But basically, you earn cash rebates over the program year. And if you exceed 100,000 in spend, you will start earning a rebate. It's important because 100,000 for a lot of our competition is banks. So a lot of the banks do have thresholds, and they're usually set higher. So one of the nice features is the program starts once you spend over 100,000 for the program year, you start earning a rebate. In order to make you aware and let you know of how much you've earned to date, we do quarterly emails to let you know how your spend is. Because sometimes one of the drawbacks of other programs is that you're not aware of where you are at any given time. So you may believe that you are earning a rebate, you may not. So we also send out quarterly emails to let you know and keep you informed. There's no charge for the program. You can have as many cards as you need. You can have 5 cards or 500 cards, whatever you need. There's no fees involved. The NYSAC program is a MasterCard-based program. We have a 24/7 access to a very robust online system. One of the things that in all cases, the IRS permitted since I think it was 2011, if you pay your vendors by P-card, you don't have to 1099 them. So it's almost like a little cherry on top. You get to have the benefits of paying with the card, and it eliminates that requirement. Actually, MasterCard is required to send them the 1099, so it helps you not having to hunt down some of the W-9s and the forms that you need to issue the 1099. The program is a corporate liability, so it's in the name of the county or municipality. What's nice is no cardholder has to disclose their social security number. We see, some more and more programs are requiring that, which a lot of folks, don't want to disclose or give up their social security information, rightfully so, and they don't want it to be held against them as well as a liability. So this program does not require that information to be disclosed. All programs should have zero liability for lost and stolen. Obviously, you have to have a timely reconciliation of your payments or the expenses, but you're not responsible if someone gets a hold of your information and uses that fraudulently. And finally, one important thing, we also offer what is known as misuse insurance. So if you issue 5 cards, there's a $100,000 liability waiver on each card. And then if you issue 2 to 4 cards, there's a $25,000. And what misuse insurance is that if there's someone that you entrusted a card with and they actually misuse the card, the county is covered. Next. So some of the things that you want to look for when you're looking for cards, we actually offer 4 different card types that can be mixed and matched. So it's not, you don't have to pick one, you can use multiple really to suit your needs. Traditional cards are just similar to what you have in your wallet now. It's a card that has the name of the individual cardholder as well as the name of the county or municipality. It's a monthly limit that just continues to reset each month as the bill is paid. A budget card is a very useful card. It's exactly what it indicates. Rather than having a monthly rolling credit limit that just resets each month, a budget card enables the administrator to put a set dollar amount on the card. So whenever purchases are made, that amount is deducted from the budgeted amount placed on the card. And once that cardholder has exhausted the budgeted amount, the card will get declined for being out of funds. Unlike a gift card, the money isn't put on the card. It's really just an accounting function. so that as the money is dwindled and purchases are made, that's when the county or municipality would be charging that budget, be charged for that a dollar amount. But it's a great way to control expenses for employees that have a budget assigned to them. A ghost card is really a cardless card. There's no actual physical plastic issued. So we, see a lot of folks using it. It's, very good for when you want to do online, especially or billing. So for AP department, a lot of folks have just a ghost card because they can leave the card number on file with the different vendors. We also have some folks that want to have a ghost card in the name of the actual vendor. So they have separate cards for each vendor so that they can track it and make sure they have a separate accounting for that. The last card is a department card. For best practices, we don't recommend utilizing a department card. However, we have a lot of them out there. And basically what a department card is that it is in the name of a department as opposed to an individual. So you don't get misuse insurance coverage because you're not sure the bank isn't sure who's actually using that card because the back is actually signed valid without signature. But department cards enable you to have, like, say, a maintenance department where there's a couple of folks and you don't want to issue individual cards. That's why some folks use the department card. But like I said, for best practices, we recommend that you don't. Traditional cards, again, there's no cost for having them. So it's always best for you to have someone's name. What's also a nice benefit of having it in their name is that you know who's used the card. A department card, somebody else could have used it in the department but didn't come back to accounting or purchasing with their receipt. And if you have a traditional card with a person's name on it, you know who to go and grab for that receipt. Next. As I stated in the beginning, one of the major benefits of the procurement cards are this infrastructure for control. When you have these cards, you can set up controls for the cards in addition to, so right now our cards are blocked for cash advances, so no one's allowed to make a cash advance. We block gambling as well as a bunch of the online services that are not really business related, so a lot of those services are blocked. But as an administrator of a card program, you can set additional controls. So these merchant categories are just the what a business entity type falls under. So in the case of a merchant category code, airlines have one code in general. Hotels, all bookstores, retail outlets, food restaurants have specific merchant category codes assigned to them. So when you have cards, you can actually block cardholders. So if you have a subset of folks and you'd like to block them from using, they never travel, so you say, hey, I don't want them to be able to make a purchase in any airline industry, any car rentals, or any hotel chains. And you as a program administrator can set that up. Additionally, you can also specify how much in a single dollar transaction you'd like to set up a limit. So for instance, if you give someone a $2,000 monthly credit line, but say, hey, they should never be purchasing anything more than $500 at a time or $1,000 at a time, you could set that up so that the card functions that way. So if your card holder and you set a $500 limit and they go in to purchase something that's $800, the card would be blocked for exceeding that individual single dollar amount limit. It can get drilled down to who they buy from. You can specify vendors. I have a couple of folks who have cards that are set. Everything's blocked except a specific vendor that they want them to use. So you can really put a lot of different types of controls. What's also nice is it's not specific to one card. Everybody doesn't have to be treated the same. So the cards can be set up in different groupings of types of employees, so that you can limit and put either, like I said, merchant category code blocking or the single transaction limits on them. So it's really beneficial for the county and the municipality to control the way the cards are used. We also preface everything with saying that this should be done thoughtfully, because you can get crazy with the blocking, and then the next thing you know, all you start doing is getting calls for declines, because sometimes vendors don't always fall in the categories that you believe them to be. Perfect example is Amazon. Every purchase, and now pretty much you can buy anything from Amazon, but every purchase is coded as a bookstore. So we say use these thoughtfully. Sometimes it's best to start with the base level, and when you see things, if you would like to add additional blocking, you can. Next. So by implementing a P-card program, you're looking to do both using it as a source of revenue, especially since today the projection for interest rates are not projected to start coming back up for a couple of years now. The process is a way to generate revenue for the county or municipality, and some simple changes can make that happen. Additionally, you want to try to make your processes faster, efficient, and less expensive. So in the next couple of slides, we're going to try to address those and see what we can do to help. First and foremost, whether you have a program or if you're looking to implement a program, you really need to get in, to buy in and get support from everyone, from top to bottom. You need support of this decision, and everybody who really needs to be involved should really, even from the onset, get involved in the process. Because when you do that, people then say, hey, yeah, they start thinking of ways to use the card purposefully. They'll say, hey, you know what, we're going to pay this vendor and we can use the card for this. And like I said, it generates some revenue. And even on the implementation, I think the most successful programs that we have drivers. And what do I mean by a driver? It's someone that's from start, like they start the process and they're always looking for ways to replace payments with the card or utilize the card to its fullest extent. Next. So it's a mindset change to me. When you first get started, you implement the card because you want to replace some of the checks. So the largest revenue source to generate for spend is by looking at your AP and your your purchasing departments. You start looking at ways to take the bills that you have and transfer it, instead of issuing a check, use the card. So it's the same, and you can leave all your processes in place initially. It's just getting that switch, getting a mindset switch, paying by giving a check, and then transferring it where applicable to the card. So you can use that. It allows you to procure goods and services faster by paying with this card. You can, again, you can roll this out in stages. So, first you take a look at AP and purchasing, and again, replace, what you're currently issuing a check for. You can replace it. Next, you can then start looking at department heads and roll out cards to them. Again, just kind of staging it in so that you can see how things work, and then you just keep expanding upon that process. We have folks, and unfortunately, due to the current COVID environment, it brought to light, things that needed to get purchased quickly to facilitate activities that you needed. And I have some folks that have like department heads that have cards, and they don't necessarily have to be the cards that they use on a regular basis. they have like a set of emergency cards. These emergency cards, what's the beauty of this system is that administrators, you could keep them at 0. And in case of an emergency, the administrator has the ability to go in real time and increase those balances so that it facilitates a faster purchase of much needed supplies and equipment as it relates to some event that normally wouldn't happen but needs to be addressed quickly. And then you can then roll it out to staff, eliminating some of the small reimbursements that you have to write little checks to reimburse them for purchases. Here, this is another way to facilitate that type of activity. And again, I say to folks that this procurement card or the card is not a right, it's a privilege. So you can, give them the card, and then you expect of them to follow the rules of the county or municipality, as well as document and provide receipts and do all the process that they need to do. Next. Here's a sample, just on this very start, ways to look to replace issuing a check. These are all entities. What we do every year is we ask the bank to provide us a listing of all the vendors that took the card from our participants. And this is some of the results. We grabbed some of the larger names, well-known names, Morton Salt, especially right now with all the snow. They take a credit card. They'll take the P card. So in place of sending them a check, you can give them the credit card. You can get the supplies much quicker sometimes by simply being able to utilize the card for the payment rather than waiting for the check process. If this is the quick and easy way to address, we have this report available, we share it with folks. But if you, if you want to be on top of what vendors will take it, there's something known as a vendor scrub, which requires you can provide a listing of all your vendors. It needs some information such as their address, telephone number, and if you have an annual spend with them, we can fine tune the information. But what's great about using the vendor scrub is that you can identify right off the bat a group of vendors that you utilize that will take the card. Sorry, folks. 1 second, folks. I'm sorry, I'm having a technical issue here. Got it, sorry. So you can identify and target certain folks by doing this list. You can do this in the beginning of the process, or if you find that if you already have a program and the program's kind of stalling that you have, you're not growing as much as you want, you're not taking advantage of using the card for paying various vendors, this is another way to identify more of your vendors that will take the card. And like I said, you can use this and then it spits out a report for you that shows you, this is an example of someone's report. What we do is we go after level 2. These are folks, the listing actually goes down to when's the last time they took the card, and a good predominance of them within the last month or 3 months. You go right after those folks. So it's targeting vendors, so to speak, because they take the card, and it's, again, that mindset, that flip. Get rid of the check, just give them the card and keep your process going. Next. The other important thing, so it's not all about money always. There's some other things that can be gained by implementing the program. By implementing a procurement card program, you can gain on efficiency. So not only is it that you reduce the number of checks issued, you eliminate the 1099s, but what's really important is that at a minimum that you should be able to import the transactions. So any of the programs, if you're looking at them, you want to make sure that their back end supports this type of activity so that you can push the transactions into your software like Munis, PeopleSoft, QuickBooks, Great Valley, Skyward. These are all the different accounting programs that we see folks utilizing, and they're, what we encourage is that you make this as efficient as possible and have that information pushed into your accounting system. In our program, we also allow you actually have the ability, if you're interested in coding transactions and then capturing image. So in addition to just being able to push the regular basic transactional data into your accounting system, if you're interested in some of the, our program actually has a very good back-end support, which enables you to have your card holders actually code the transactions utilizing a drop-down menu so that they don't make an error on the code, because the last thing you need is them to code them and then have incorrect codes. But it also facilitates capturing images. So even some of the smaller municipalities where you may not have the resources to have that type of accounting system, the system that we utilize enables you to do that. There's no additional cost for it. So you can actually code and have that information dumped into your accounting system with the images as well. And they've also come out with a mobile app. So it gives the card holders, you can again push that responsibility to them so they can do some of the work for you before it gets to accounting and procurement. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce Alex. It's making it work, or mastering P-card and the use of the P-card program. So Alex, if you wouldn't mind sharing some information about how you've been able to, this is a 5-year process that he's been through. So if you'd like to share some information about how you were able to do this.
Sure. Thank you, Beth. Alex Mazzata from Putnam County. We've been participating in the MasterCard BMO program now. It's got to be at least 7 or 8 years. And the last program period that ended August 30th, 2020 was our best year, both in spend and rebate, as you could see from the chart. So we started off very slowly. We started off with 1 P card for the whole county, and it was located in my desk. And it was used at that time to assist departments when they had to make an online transaction, or they only could transact with a credit card. They would go to me and make that request just to make some purchases that they otherwise couldn't transact without a P card. And we, as the county, decided to move very slowly because we took it very cautiously, because there's an initial hesitation about P cards and this fear of rogue spend or misappropriation, or spending it without following your internal processes. So we decided as a county that we were going to proceed very cautiously, 1 card, and we were going to build out the process. And it was also established from the beginning that the P card was simply going to be used as a different payment mechanism, but it was not going to change any of our internal controls or processes. So therefore, if you require a purchase order for anything over $100, that did not go away. You still needed the purchase order first before you could use the P card. That allowed us to control the expenditure and ensure we were still compliant with our processes. That was non-negotiable. That's where it had to start. And it was very beneficial to us, because that way you had you were able to convince the administrators, your county executives, your legislature, that the program would be put in place in a way that wouldn't jeopardize the county. So once we established that and we created a nice baseline and had our processes in place, I started to roll out additional cards to departments. And how we rolled it out was the departments, the fiscal managers in the departments were the recipients of the cards because they were in the best position to issue purchase orders and pay the bills. They were doing that anyways. So now we provided them with another payment vehicle. And as everyone's aware, so much of your business is now transacted online, the internet, and having the credit card, the P card as your payment mechanism is sometimes required when you do that. If you go to Amazon right now or Staples or any of these online outlets, having the P card there to be able to pay for your purchases is very, very beneficial and sometimes necessary. And then we just, another point is that, and Beth hit on this before, is we didn't change our processes internally from our control, and each one of our transactions that we put on our P card, we bring back into our financial management system, which is Munis, and it's reconciled just like any accounts payable. So it's no different. The vendor comes in, you maintain that payment history, you're still collecting your receipts, it's still being audited and reviewed, and it's fully vetted. Although, even though your payment has technically been made against the card, that doesn't mean all of your processes aren't complete to ensure that it was a rightful purchase, which is very important because, again, it's audit control and it ensures that everything was done appropriately. So that's where we started as the county. It was process driven. The program could not move forward unless it met our internal processes. And once that was in place and we started distributing the cards to multiple departments, it was easy. Cards needed them. The fiscal managers had them in place. And then we started to identify what's the best use of the card, what high spend vendors do we have. We're one of the big Morton Salt vendors. So that's $1 million plus a year for us, usually in our winters. That was an easy one. Sometimes we've had, in recent years, the reason why our 20 rebate was so large was because we had a big project with Motorola for our antenna system, radio wave system, and it was a couple $1 million project. So Motorola accepts the card. So you almost had $2 million in spend that you normally wouldn't have, and we just identified that vendor, and it turned out great. So that, in a nutshell, is how we operate the program in Putnam County.
Awesome. That was great. Thank you, Alex. That was great. Just before we open it up for questions and stuff, I just wanted to just give a quick note. While we'd love you to join NYSAC program, whatever, these are just guidelines and what we identified as what's really important to do when if you don't already have a program, what to look for. It's important to do your homework. Although it's offered by so many places, a lot of banks, they all don't walk and talk the same. So it's really important to identify, what are you going to get from your program? Do they charge you fees for issuing cards? Do you, are you going to earn money on, all of your spend? Some places have a higher threshold. We happen to have a $100,000 threshold. There's some that are over $1 million to $2 million. And then there's others that you want to make sure they don't caveat some of your spend. Sometimes there's preferred providers where they won't pay you on spend. That is one of the reasons why, we also give the quarterly reports, is just to give you an idea really where you're at. Not everybody does that. Again, going back to my support issue, it is really, there's some skeptics, so it's always important to involve everybody that needs to be involved so that you get the support and the buy-in from folks. Developing a strong policies and procedures. Again, it's a privilege, not a right. You want to make sure your card holders clearly understand what they are allowed to use the card for. And then finally, and most importantly, is to make sure that it always integrates with your accounting system. So with that, I thank you, and we can answer some questions.
Well, thank you very much, Beth, and thank you, Alex. This was great information. We appreciate that. I want to just touch on what the differentiator here, or one of the differentiators. That's right. This webinar was designed to talk about P card use in general and to help any county that has any P card program to leverage that. If you do not have a P card, we encourage you to take a look at different P cards that are out there. What would work best for your county? If you have a P card program where you're not leveraging much in terms of rebate, and you're not using it very much, and you're not getting very much support, then you can go back to them and use this information and say, hey, can you give us a little bit better support? There's a program over here that provides way more support. Our programs and services at the Association of Counties are designed to work for you. And if you have a different program, you can use our program to make your program better, or you can come and explore what we're doing in our program. We also have a working group. In October, we had our first working group roundtable. We had 12, almost all of our counties on a Zoom call talking about best practices, sharing information, and it was great. And then they asked us for information, NYSAC, and they asked PFM for information. We've been able to provide that information, and it just helps our counties who are working all in the same program leverage each other and what we're all doing. So that's a differentiator, and I appreciate that. The first question we have in is for Beth, I think. It's about land banks. Beth, can a county who has a land bank or is sponsoring a land or endorsing a land bank, can they use the county's P card for construction or any other land bank purchases?
Absolutely. We've actually explored one. Through the county, they could establish a P card program, and they can be used for any type of building materials, whatever we've seen, contractors, again, any type of building material, utilize the P card program. I know sometimes we had been approached to see if the land bank itself could be a member. Due to just financials and information like that, it's best suited to be under the umbrella of the county. So yes, we could definitely do that.
So the county would have to be the card holder, but it could be, the land bank could be a department, so to speak?
So to speak, yes. You could set them up as a separate stream. You could actually have a separate payment debit for them as well. But yeah, they would have to be under the umbrella of the county, only because of the financials that are needed in order to join, because it's a line of credit.
Thank you very much. And I want to remind participants here that you can ask a question. You can either raise your hand and we'll call on you, or you can type your question into the question box, which is on, at least for my computer, it's on the right side of my webinar, GoToWebinar dashboard. So please, this is at this time, if you have a question, please type it in there. The next question is, you talk a lot about controls, Beth. What does that look like in terms, if you're an administrator and you want to adjust the line of credit or close a card for a department or something like that? How does that actually happen? What's the process? Does the administrator log into a system or something like that?
Yes, great question. Yes, you have the back end, our program, you can increase credit limits real time. So if you have a situation where you have someone that normally has $1,000 credit and there's a need to make a purchase that exceeds it, real time, the administrator can jump into the online system and increase the balance. If there's a situation and the card needs to be closed quickly, you can also go on the system and do that. We also, if you don't like always using the computer for it, there's a full back-end customer service team that would be willing to assist, be able to assist as well to change those type of or make those type of requests. The controls on the merchant category limit is something that also right now it's not that's something that requires a call into the call center. A perfect example is you can block cards for United States, Canada, or all other countries. I'm always a error on the caution side, so I say, block all countries. And if a situation arose where you needed to purchase something that was outside of the country, you can always call in and have that opened up or that window opened up temporarily till the purchase is made, and then put the control back on to block that type of activity. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Is the rebate a percentage and how is it calculated? It's my understanding that this is one thing, if you don't have a P card and you're looking for one, all the different P card programs have a different percentage, but can you address that, Beth?
Yep. So basically, our program, we have rebate tiers. So as you hit different spending levels, so for instance, if you exceed $1 million over the course of the program year, you earn 1% or 100 basis points. And then that's a calculation that's done. So you'd earn 100 basis points on that. There is, there's a distinction for for a small portion called a large ticket. So on occasion, there'd be an adjustment made for that, but you're fully aware of that when that occurs. It's a small, but usually it's less than 10% of the whole P card universe that we have. So it usually doesn't impact your rebate for that.
So it's calculated by the amount of spend,
of your spend for the year,
right? And then it goes by tier, which is funny. I'll just every quarter there's everybody gets a notice about where they are in terms of their spend for the year, so they can either anticipate the type of rebate they're going to get. They just get a sense of where they are. And I know quarter one, quarter two, and then you get to quarter three, and you start to look at the counties are starting to look at where they are in terms of their tier, because if they get so much, another $1 million of spend, then that percentage gets bumped up. So then they're looking for different ways to get into that next tier. So that's another thing that we share when we're all talking together about the program. So it's,
we also we put a projection on there as well. So at the bottom of those emails, we give you a projection if you continue to spend on that same pattern, what you could anticipate the rebate to be. And we have been known to, when folks, because sometimes everybody's busy and they might not look all the way down to the bottom of the email, but I just actually made a few calls, because when you see someone that's getting close to the next tier, we like to call it to your attention. So we do that as well.
Alex, I think this question is for you. How do you identify vendors, or how often do you identify vendors that could take the card?
So we have obviously vendors that we know year over year, go-to vendors who accept it. And then, so like I said, your Amazons, the Staples will take it. We use it for travel as well. And then what I typically will do is I always ask my departments to start to identify their high spend vendors. And to make some phone calls to find out if they'll accept it. For instance, we've tried to get the fuel companies to accept the cards for your gas, your diesel. For the most part, they refuse. They haven't participated. They'd rather get paid by the check. But doesn't mean I don't check in with them every year or so just to see if they've changed their methods. But it's something that I know is something we have to get better at in Putnam, is that outreach. The only issue is, as all these municipalities are experiencing, we're at a personnel shortage, and it's just that much less time to be able to give to that. However, it is a really important piece of it, because you're only going to attract more vendors and more spend if you actually spend the time reviewing your AP list and all that. So it's definitely something we in Putnam have to get better at, and hopefully we will.
Great, thanks. And that's where the term that Beth used the term driver. In St. Lawrence County, they have a driver, Stephanie Kerr, who works in the procurement office. She is the driver in terms of the P card in St. Lawrence County, and she identifies vendors. That's one of the things that she does. In terms of employees, right, it is a staff shortage across counties in New York. But at a rebate of $120,000 a year, it helps St. Lawrence County keep some of their staff employed. So great points, and thank you, Alex. We have a budget of around $1 million annually. Are there other towns with similar budgets that have implemented the P card? Beth?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yes, you can implement the program. It's, ideally, some people join the program, and if they can't meet the threshold, they capitalize or utilize the advantages of having, cards when they need them. So yes, we do have folks that have, much smaller, budgets than others, and we still, help them use the program for the efficiency aspect of it, as opposed to necessarily getting the revenue.
Great, thank you. And the next question is, how do you assign a card to a project? How would a county work with you or go on the dashboard and assign a card to a specific project?
Do you mean as far as identifying a card to be utilized for a project? We could certainly, set that card up to have the budget that's allotted for that project, and then either you can have the card in an individual name that's responsible for the project, or you could, use it for. We have folks that have the, project name as the department, or so to speak, and then utilize it in that fashion where it's used for, purchases that, and the team who's responsible for the project can utilize the card. I hope that, I don't know if that's what if I'm answering the question as they're, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I think that does answer the question. That is the question. How do you assign a card to a project? And I think there's multiple ways that you can do that. And one is you could if the project has a budget, you could put that budget in there and use a budget card where anything on the project that needs to be purchased can be purchased against that budget. Or you could create a card just for that project and use that project name, and then that card can be used as a credit card, and then and just be used for that specific project. And there may be others. So Karen, we could work with you if that didn't answer your question. You could follow up with me or Beth directly after this. If a land bank can be under the county, can your community college? That's a great question, Kim Davis. If a land bank can be used, can your community college? Beth?
Yes, we actually, some of the community colleges, we actually have identified that as a really great, we have several community colleges across the country that utilize the P-Card program. Some of them are actually standalone, so they're not necessarily under the county umbrella, but we would welcome having that under the county umbrella as well. But yes, community colleges, this is one of the products that is really a great application for, because departments, you can put budgets and do the same types of controls on those cards. So yes.
Here's another good question, and one that comes up often: is there a fee to the vendor that accepts the card?
Yes, any vendor. It's just any vendor that decides to take a credit card. What they do is they sign up with a processor to take the cards and get cash in hand within 24 to 48 hours. So what they do is when they decide to take card, that's what they're negotiating. There's basically a vendor then signs up with this facilitator of the card, and they get assigned. They choose to transmit certain pieces of data, and so it puts them in a category. So there's data. Level 1 is like a mom and pop type store. So they pay the highest percentage to take card and get that cash quickly. So they give up approximately, some a little over 3% or 3.5%. So they give that up to have the cash quickly, and it works its way out to what they call a level 3, which is more of your box stores. They transmit down to the line item of detail, and for them transmitting it that way, they receive the lowest. It's an interchange fee, and they pay like 1.8%. So yes, a vendor does give up a little portion and pay a fee. What we do know is that a lot of the vendors already built that in. That's a cost of doing business. So for the most part, they do build that in. So.
And then the next question is, how does this compare to the Citibank program? And you could answer that, Beth, but there are a number of different programs out there. And before you jump in, or even if you're using a program you're not happy with, you can go out there and do some comparisons and compare the Citibank program to the NYSAC PFM P-Card program. There's Bank of America program. There are another couple of programs out there. So you should be comparing them to see what works best for your county. But do you want to take a shot at that, Beth? How does this compare to the Citibank program?
Sure. I just know, again, all the banks are our competitors. I just think what we have been able to do is that we help you more than a lot of some of the other programs that are out there. What do I mean by that? We are, we want you to succeed. We want you to earn the biggest rebate that you can. So things like sharing vendor lists that we have that we know take the card, we, give that to you. We keep in front of you, what your spend is. A lot of folks, you just don't get that information. Yes, you have a monthly bill, but you don't really know what you might get as a rebate. So I think it's all that additional service. A lot of the places just drop the cards off and they let you go and you're running with it all by yourself. We're here as a resource. We will send out, send out semi-annual newsletters. So give you best practices, tell you, hey, did you know this vendor takes it? So, we do a lot of more customer service related items. So I think that differentiates us. And as Mark stated, really do your homework, because sometimes you'll find someone says, oh, we're going to give you 150 basis points. And when you actually look at, you ask them to put the pen to the paper, it's a lot different than what they tell you to get you in the door.
And with that, we're at 1 hour here. It's 11 o'clock. I thank you all for joining us. And that's a good place to end. And I'll say that the NYSAC vetted the programs before we decided to partner with PFM to offer this program to our counties. And we did that because of what Beth just said is the focus on county or municipal specific spend, the focus on customer service, the focus on working together to get the most and the best out of the program. And that's why NYSAC joined with PFM. And again, we thank you all for joining us. Please, if you have any questions, you can contact Beth. Her information is right here on the last PowerPoint slide, or you can reach out to NYSAC anytime, and you can reach out to Alex at Putnam County. So thank you. Stay warm, stay healthy, and happy holidays from NYSAC to you and your county.
Thank you, everyone.